You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Another big win for Kiwi heavyweight boxer Joseph Parker.
To the winner by majority decision and new WBO interim heavyweight champion, the Fighting Pride of New Zealand, Big Joseph Parker.
Oh, how good for Joe Parker. He's claimed the interim WBO heavyweight title with a majority decision win over highly rated Chinese fighter Zhilei Zhang in Saudi Arabia. Parker was knocked down twice by the bigger Zhang in the 3rd and 8th rounds, but came back both times and looked much, much better in the later rounds, and the judges agreed. Combat sports expert Mike Angove joins us. Mike, thanks for taking the time. Did you have Parker winning it?
Yeah, I absolutely had Joe winning it. I thought, he landed double the power punches. His punch output was more than double. And you can't expect to win a fight off 2 punches alone. So I thought Joe fought smart. He fought bravely. Zhang showed that countering speed and that single shot pop that he's got. But Joe built into the fight. He started to take away his lead hand. And, it was a smart fight from him.
So in that, just to unpack what you said about being knocked down, so being knocked down isn't necessarily a disadvantage as long as you get back up again in terms of if it goes the distance. Getting knocked down a couple of times isn't necessarily terminal to your chances, obviously, of winning the fight.
It's still very difficult for you because, of course, those are a 10-8 round. We work on the 10-9 must system. So essentially that puts him 4 rounds up, but in only 2 rounds. So right. Joe needed to win 7 rounds in order to take that fight, which I thought he did. I thought he probably won at least 8, possibly even 9 of the rounds. So I thought it was pretty fair, but those, there's a couple of rounds that are a little bit tight. If your punch output drops a little, then, judges can start to come into it more. But I think the right decision was made. And look, it was a really good fight from Joe. He didn't do what he did against Joe Joyce and, tried to blast him out of there early. He was smart in the clinch. He tied him up. He didn't spend too much time allowing a heavier guy just to lean on him. So he was selective in his punches. He took him late. And in the end, he clean slated the last 3 rounds, 9-10, actually probably the last 4 rounds, 9-10, 11-12, which is really what you want to do. He came home well.
What are the specific challenges, Mike, of fighting a southpaw, which Zhang is?
Well, obviously the powers from the rear side, they're also much more familiar with that position. It's a different angle. The lead hand is different. There's a lot of hand clashing with the jab. And your normal drift, where you would normally step for a conventional fighter, is completely changed. So you're putting yourself into danger. So by the nature of that, with there being maybe 1 in 10 fighters being left-handed, it means that those 1 in 10 are far more familiar with those positions. And Zhang, who's a heavy hitter, a huge man, he's 20 stone, who's a very quick, crisp counterpuncher, presents a real obstacle. And I thought, look, Joe did well. He got clipped on a couple of occasions because he took it easy. He just made mistakes. But it's a great victory for him. He's now the interim heavyweight champion of the world for the WBO again, so he's back up with the WBO. And even more importantly, he's probably just earned himself another $20 or $30 million fight in Saudi. And look, he's come back from the loss to Joe Joyce. He's beaten the man who beat the man. He's beaten Deontay Wilder. That is some resume that Joseph Parker is now unpacking. And he's no longer the kid that he was at 26. He's now a man. He's got a great trainer alongside him. They've formed this relationship, and it's clearly working well. This is quite a different fighter. It's a very seasoned man you have in front of us now. Not a kid who's barely shaving anymore. So we have a real dangerous prospect in Joe, and he's really coming into his own.
So does he have to fight Zhang again now? Is there a rematch clause in this fight?
I wouldn't see that there would be any advantage for Joe fighting Zhang again. I don't know if there's a rematch clause, but it doesn't make sense for me. Joe would want to move on to more lucrative fights. And obviously those fights include the rematch with AJ in particular, maybe a Usyk fight, particularly coming off another victory over Southpaw. He's back up, in that top 3 or 4 really, and you can't deny him. You can't deny what he's just done. He's taken care of Wilder. He's taken care of Zhang. Now, those are 2 of the heaviest hitters in the division. So, it's really, really the boxing world, who I might add, Kiwis had actually written Joe off a little bit after the Joe Joyce loss. So I'd just like to formally say I told you so.
Good man.
And some people don't know beep about boxing. And Joe Parker, what a resurrection. You've done great.
Yeah, that's why we've got you on, Mike, because you do know a lot more than most of us about it. How challenging would it have been for Joe himself to come back after that Joyce defeat?
Well, of course. He's been stopped for the first time in his career. He'd been on the canvas for, but he was legitimately stopped. And here's the thing: rather than shy away and wait for another payday, although he would have been paid well for Saudi, but he didn't shy away from Zhang, the guy who beat Joe Joyce, the guy who beat the guy that he lost to by knockout. He came back. He not only did he get on the horse, but he rode it roughshod around the ring, and he's taken on incredibly risky fights. And the level that puts him at, both mentally and just in terms of what he's accomplished, is right up there. I think we've now really got to respect Joe. I think he's already a great in Kiwi terms, but I think we have to put him up there alongside Tour Man and sort of what he's accomplished. This is great from Joseph Parker.
All right, I'm not sure if you've got eyes on the Joshua Ngannou fight at the moment while you're talking to us, Mike, but getting news that Ngannou's just been knocked out by Anthony Joshua. Can you see your screen from where you are?
I've got my screen on my ear right now. So, look, to be honest, I'm not surprised, and I'll tell you why. Joshua's he's equal in terms of size with Francis. He's got that Olympic boxing pedigree, and he fights in a very different style from that Tyson Fury does. It's just styles make fights, and Francis's lack of long-term boxing pedigree, with a clean, well-schooled striker like AJ, didn't stand him in good stead. Tyson Fury, different fight. He's a guy who uses his bulk to push people around, who makes guys miss, and isn't necessarily the biggest puncher. So quite a different fight. And people didn't factor that in, that Tyson often, because he's such a big man, he comes in, he jabs, he pushes you off, and he uses that to create space for his punches. But when he came in against Francis, he wasn't going anywhere. Well, Francis is a seasoned MMA fighter. He's a big man, strong man. He can't just walk backwards. So that's the difference in this fight. AJ's an athlete who can sit on the outside. He's got slightly longer reach than Francis, and as the fight was shaping out, he was just too crisp and too long. But Francis Ngannou, who's he fought in his first 2 professional boxing fights? 2 legitimate world champions. That's not a bad effort. Let's be fair.
Well, I hope I didn't spoil it for you, Mike. While you were talking to me, I hope I've given it away, but I'm sure you better watch a replay of it. It won't take you very long. But thanks for taking the time to give us your analysis this afternoon. Great win by Joe.
Yeah, no problem. And I do hope the Kiwis actually celebrate that win. Look, I know you guys are all bandwagoners out there, but you should well and truly be hitching your flag to the Joseph Parker bandwagon right now. And make sure that if he stumbles, you're still supporting him, because he's just achieved something great.
Good man, Mike. Great stuff. Great to chat to you. Love the chat. Thanks, man. Mike Angove, combat sports expert. There you go. Hitch onto the Joseph Parker bandwagon. and recognise how big an achievement this is. The win over the highly rated Zhilei Zhang from China. And as we were mentioning during that chat, Francis Ngannou has been absolutely knocked out cold by Anthony Joshua. Just looking a little bit of narrative online here. People are saying it's one of the biggest knockout shots they've ever seen. Sent into oblivion, says this particular comment. So Anthony Joshua has well and truly won that one. Joseph Parker, if you're just joining us, the win over Zhilei Zhang from China. And I understand, I've heard it from a few people now, that there definitely is a rematch clause there. So it looks as though Parker will again fight Zhang in a rematch at a yet-to-be-determined date.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.